what is up, everybody? It is Brian 10K, and today I am not talking about my Dungeons and Dragons content like I normally would be. Most of you that are my subscribers are fairly new, and you're here because I make D&D content dressed up as my vampire character William, and y'all get a kick out of his antics, and parts and windows into his story. Anyway, but I am really an all-around kind of nerd. I like nerdy stuff from various franchises, and today I felt that I wanted to come on here and talk about the X-Men hobbabaloo that's been happening all over the internets, and also point out to the new people that I make content that is all around nerdy. It will mostly be D&D here. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I'm pretty sure 90% of my content is gonna be Dungeons and Dragons, but ever so often I'm gonna step out of that just to give y'all an FYI. Now, let's talk about the X-Men. Why am I talking about the X-Men today? So there is an internet hullabaloo happening about that's been going on for the last couple days, especially about X-Men 97, which is a continuation of the X-Men cartoon from the 90s. And there are some fans, and I do use that term loosely, that are angry about the update to the character Morph. Morph is a X-Man who can shapeshift, and Morph's the update to Morph's character is that Morph no longer identifies as he him as a dude, and identifies as they them. They've also updated Morph's character to match his comic book counterpart a little more. I felt I wanted to come on here and kind of give more voices towards, like, rationality here, because of I'm going to tell you some of the things that the naysayers are saying, and then I'm going to give the counterpoints, because there needs to be more counterpoints. The fact that all these guys are getting hundreds of thousands of views, just basically screaming the X-Men have gone woke without either knowing anything about the X-Men or misconstruing what the X-Men are about, and I'm not going to stand for it. So here's the thing. The big thing for the X-Men is that they were created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee in 1963, which is pretty much the tail end of the civil rights movement. Just FYI, so you guys get a time frame of when the X-Men came out. They were made so that they could tell stories about marginalized people. That was the point of the X-Men. They were literally made so that they could tell those stories in a superhero setting. Now, they couldn't directly tell you those stories back then because obviously the civil rights movement was going around, and let's be real, people with my complexion didn't exactly treat people of color or their allies very well. And if you don't believe me, you can Google that. Some of that stuff in history will chill you to the bone if you know about it. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the X-Men. So the anti-woke crowd is pissed off about this, but here's the thing. The X-Men have always been woke, so to speak. They've always been a story that is literally telling all the kinds of marginalized people's story. The disabled, the LGBTQ, people of color, women, neurodivergent people are all mixed into the X-Men story. It is all baked in. Like, if you go and look at any kind of list of X-Men, you can find X-Men that have all sorts of things. You can even find stories about mental health in there. So there's tons of stuff just kind of baked in, social issues that are baked into the creation of the X-Men. That's their whole point of their existence. So for the anti-woke crowd, for anyone who knows anything about the X-Men, they look really, really dumb. And right now they're very loud and they're very vocal. So like I said, I felt I had to come on here and kind of counterbalance that. Kind of like throw another voice to maybe hopefully make theirs quieter, because let's be real, they're speaking nonsense, they're speaking untruths, they're speaking basically, guys like the Quartering and all his cronies. They're literally coming on here trying to tell everybody the X-Men have gone woke, and all the woke elements that we see in their stories were never there, but they totally were. So what are some of the arguments that I got? Because I also got into some debates with people on Twitter about it. One of the major ones that I got into a debate was, like, one person tried to tell me that all of the X-Men's bad guys are aliens or robots. And then that guy got real quiet when everybody said, uh-huh. And question, who made that robot and why was it made again? And it kind of like shut them up because it was like, yeah, because bigotry plays a big element in the story of the X-Men. That's why we have the MRD. That's why we have the Sentinels. That's why we have Senator Kelly. I think his name is Stryker. He's the guy who gives Wolverine his metal claws. Like, all of these characters are mutant bigots. They want to use the mutants. Anyway, so bigotry is literally ingrained in the story. It's in every single X-Men movie. Like X-Men 3 is literally about, you literally see the human military weaponizing the cure for mutants, right? And you see the X-Men have to like stop Magneto from, basically blowing up this factory because it's like, hey, that you're gonna make it to where that's what they use. And of course, Magneto is a little right about it because, of course, we're talking about movie Magneto. We're not talking about comics Magneto. There is a difference. But anyway, movie Magneto is kind of right. He's like, hey, see, I was right. They turned it into a weapon. Which, to be fair, I'd be pissed too, in that scenario. But I digress. The literally mutant bigotry, like, actually mutant bigotry is a really big part of Angel's background. He's the mutant with the wings. That has bird wings. His dad is the one who makes that serum in the movie, and also is working on it in the X-Men or Wolverine in the X-Men cartoon, which you can Google that. He was literally trying to make that cure in that cartoon too. So it's very much like, and it's all because his son is he's disgraced. His dad doesn't like the fact that his son's a mutant. That's his whole motivation for making this. It's not about helping mutants. It was about making his son normal, so long story short, that's the whole thing about it. Mutant bigotry is a big thing, and also if you go into the comic books, you will see some symbolism there that also adds to the point that this is an allegory or a metaphor or symbolism, however, whatever you want to call it. The point is this is representing something else, and you can see it mirrored. That's what the X-Men are. The X-Men are a kind of a super heroic funhouse mirror of the world we live in, right? So, and that's just a fact. That is the whole point of the X-Men was literally so Jack Kirby and Stan Lee could tell these stories. So they're holding up that funhouse mirror, and that's why you see a lot of if you look at the anti-mutant groups that exist in the Marvel Universe, right? They're gonna look like real world anti-woke groups in the real world. You're gonna see groups that look like the KKK. You're gonna see groups that look like Nazis. You're gonna see groups that look like the Aryan Brotherhood. You're gonna see groups that look like religious zealots. You're gonna see groups that look like you're going to see groups that probably, especially in more modern comics, I wouldn't be shocked if they made them look like MAGA. You know what I mean? So I haven't read any X-Men comics as of late, but I have got the Cliff Notes, but I haven't had the time to sit down and read an X-Men comic as of late. But the point that I'm getting at is I have read them in the past, and I've seen a lot of the media online, and I've watched a lot of the movies and the cartoons, so I know enough about them to know that bigotry is a big element in their story, and it's one of the things that I needed to come on here and tell you guys, that you need to not listen to those guys who are trying to tell you the X-Men have gone woke. The X-Men have always been woke. Flat end of discussion. And it really irks me that there's people who think they can conservative wash, as I've been calling it, the X-Men. I'm like, no, the X-Men are not conservative people, and they wouldn't be. I just feel like I needed to come on here and say, like, yeah, they're wrong, and here's why. And another argument I got was they were saying that look at the X-Men, most of their bad guys are what? What are they? Oh, that's right, they're mutants like them. As if that's kind of justifies like the bigotry the X-Men receive. Like that was another kind of like subtext argument I saw, was like there were individuals that tried to tell me that the X-Men deserve their bigotry because of the bad actors in their world that have powers, that are mutants and have powers too. And here's the thing: bad people come in every group of humanity, no matter how you slice humans, no matter what group you or subgroup you put us into. There's gonna be individuals that are bad people. Like if you look in the nerd sector, there's plenty of people that are not good people. Like the Quartering, for example, he's not a good guy. Let's be real, he's not. Ben Shapiro kind of steps into the nerd realms every now and then. He's not a good guy. So, as examples, right? So there's bad people come in every group. It doesn't matter how you slice it. But that wouldn't justify bigotry to anybody. You know, I refuse to allow, bigotry to be used, like, to be justified, period. So basically, that was another one. And another, like I said, there was also gaslighting arguments. Like, they try to say, oh, the mutants only fight aliens and robots, but, like, the robots are invented by bigots. So, like, literally, bigotry is what ends humanity in, like, Days of Future Past, is mutant bigotry. Like, there's a whole scene where Wolverine talks about how, like, humans tried to fight alongside them to help. And in the comic books, there are versions of this story, various versions of this story, where, like, superheroes like Spider-Man, the Hulk, Iron Man tried to stop the Sentinels too, and they got, right along with most of the mutants. So it's a whole story. Anyway, it's a fantastic story. You should go read it or watch it, no matter which version you want to see. There's various versions of that story being told. But I digress. So the other part of it was, like, people try to say, oh, they're wokeifying these characters, but these characters were, that was always a big ingrained thing, part of their story. Like, literally, Magneto is literally a Holocaust survivor, which, to be fair, I'm not surprised he kind of came out that way, because if I watched everybody that I loved get murdered for the fact that they existed, it would make it. That's the potential. By the way, this is another example of how the X-Men are an allegory for the real world, right? Because there are people in the real world that did what Magneto did in the movies. Like, think about this: Magneto is a Holocaust survivor, and what does he end up wanting to do? He wants to wipe out humanity because he already saw bigotry in two forms try to kill him. He saw people want to kill him for being a mutant. He saw people wanting to kill him for being a Jew. So what did he end up becoming? He ended up becoming a terrorist, which, by the way, is something that could happen if you're the victim of a genocide. It doesn't justify terroristic behavior, but it does explain it. That being said, all of that is just giving you examples about how X-Men is clearly a superhero funhouse mirror to the world we live in. So, if anyone comes at you online and tries to tell you that the X-Men are not woke, here's what they need to do. You need to tell them they need to Google what that means, right? And then you just show pictures of all of the X-Men having to fight all these various anti-mutant bigotry groups of their stories. Just show those panels. They're everywhere all over Google. You'll find them really fast and easy, I promise you. In fact, you can even show them clips from the cartoons and the movies, because it's in all of their media, as it should be. It is a deep ingrained part baked in to what makes the X-Men so great. And it's also why a lot of people like myself, who is an ally to various marginalized groups, likes the X-Men. So, anyway, I hope this video was informative. I hope this made a few people who obviously got gaslit by fake Marvel fans, fake X-Men fans, make them feel a little better. Let you guys know that, yes, you are correct. The X-Men were always woke. Pretty much it's been the whole point of their story from the get-go. Anyway, yeah, I hope this was a voice to help counterbalance it. Anyway, guys, I hope you'll leave a subscription, leave a like, and do me a favor and tell me who's your favorite X-Men in the comments. My two favorite X-Men are Nightcrawler and Wolverine.